Hey everyone, Mr. MCA here. This is a lap guide for the new lap time challenge taking place at Fuji International Speedway Short in the wet with the Subaru WRX Group 4. To access this lap time challenge, go on over to Sport Mode, so make sure you have menu book number 9 completed. Click on the online time challenge towards the middle of the screen and you'll see the current lap time challenges being held. So this lap time challenge goes on until the end of March 5th, 2025, where we're in the Subaru WRX Group 4 and the track is wet. And because the track is pretty wet, I highly suggest switching over to the racing wet tires. But your goal is to go within the 3% time range of the world record time when the event ends, as that is when your lap time gets counted, and hopefully you'll be able to get the 2 million credits. Now for this one, I'm actually using the rental car because I don't want to buy the racing wet tires. So if you rent the car, you'll be able to have the racing intermediate and wet tires already on hand. So yeah, that's why I'm renting the car. But first, going over to the car settings, and you'll want to switch the front and rear tires to the heavy wet tires. That way you'll get a little more grip because the track is pretty wet. Other thing is to turn on the assist called driving line. So with this assist, you'll see the racing line appear, and when the track is dry, this is the line that you want to take. However, when the track is wet, that's the line that you want to try to avoid as much as you can. And that's because there's rubber on that driving line, so when the track is wet, this driving line becomes a bit more slippery. So with this car, you want to shift when the shift bar fills up, and you'll eventually see me move to the right of the driving line as I get ready to brake for the first braking point. So in a moment, you'll see me move to the right of the braking point. I'm going to look for the 150 meter board, and I'm going to brake right as I pass it. So use all of your braking power, and you're going to make your way down to second gear, trying not to brake on the line that is on the left. So turn in just before the curb on the left ends, easing off of the brakes as you're turning in. And because this is an all-wheel drive car, you can be slightly more aggressive getting out of the corners compared to, say, a front engine rear-wheel drive car. Bring yourself all the way to the right because there's still grip right here. Brake right before the 100 meter board, and you want to turn in as you approach the 50 meter board. So full braking power, go down to 4th gear, turn in as you reach the 50 meter board, and you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle, as it's really easy to end up understeering like how I do right here. Then use this path on the right as your cue to ease off for the throttle and turn in. You can use a little bit of braking if you feel like you're going in a little too hot into the turn. Use this path on the right as a cue to get back on the throttle, and try to bring yourself towards the middle of the track and brake when you reach this orange marker that is on the right. And you want to go down to second gear for a bit more rotation and turn in once you're going under the sign up above. So go down to second gear, back up to third gear as you hit the apex, and you can be a bit more aggressive on the throttle as you exit this turn. You might get a cute little slide, which can actually help with the car's rotation, so do be aware of that. Now for this turn, bring yourself all the way to the left and brake before you go under the big Dunlop sign. So tuck in all the way to the left because there's a bit more grip here compared to the racing line. Use all of your braking power and turn in before the wall on the right ends or before you reach this little white marker on the left. Give this apex a kiss on the forehead, get back on the throttle. Use this white marker on the left as your cue to brake, and do note that I'll wait a bit longer before I turn in because I want to avoid the racing line. So go down to second gear, then I cross into the racing line, back up to third gear, carefully get back on the throttle and stay all the way to the left, trying to avoid the racing line. Use the curb or the end of the curb on the left as a cue to get back on the brakes, using around 50% braking power and just trying to stay towards the left, trying to avoid the racing line as there is less grip there. and you can take advantage of this curb as it is still part of the racing line. Now, there's multiple lines you can take around here. The one I prefer is actually the one that my Ghost takes, where you brake before the marshal stand on the left and you go wide into the final turn, then swing yourself back in for a late apex. So you can see my Ghost doing that, at least for a moment. You do go down to second gear for a bit more rotation, then go back up to third gear, and then fully accelerate your way out. Yeah, I think with that final turn in the wet, I prefer taking the wider entry. I was experimenting around with the final turn, and honestly with this approach I took, I felt like it was a bit awkward. But we'll go through this again, but this time I'm not going to stop the video. So again, shifting when the shift bar fills up. You want to avoid the racing line as much as you can, as there's less grip there. Brake right as you pass the 150 meter board, go down to second gear, and you want to carefully get back on the throttle. And again, with this car, you can be a bit more aggressive getting back on the throttle. It's just that you can't be reckless with it, otherwise you do risk spinning out. 100 meter board is your next braking point, and you want to be careful with this turn. Really easy to understeer off of the track, so do be careful with your throttle input as you exit that turn. Avoiding the racing line because there's a bit more grip here compared to the racing line. Brake at the 75 meter mark, so that little orange marker on the right. Down in second gear, back up to third, and again with this car being an all-wheel drive, you can be a bit aggressive getting back on the throttle. You can even get a cute little slide out of some corners, which can help with the car's rotation and get you a slightly faster exit. Tuck all the way to the left, brake before going under the big Dunlop sign. Down to third gear, give this apex a kiss on the forehead, and look for the white marker on the left as that is your next braking point. Do note that I wait a bit longer before turning in, so I don't have to be on the racing line as much. Tuck all the way into the left, trying to stay away from the racing line as there's less grip there. Go up to third gear, take advantage of the red and white curves as it is still part of the track limits. And for this one, there are multiple lines you can take, but for me, I much prefer going wide into the turn, then bring myself in for a later apex and get a slightly faster exit that way. And you can see that with my Ghost slowly catching up. We'll go through this one more time, but this time we're going to be in bumper cams, so we'll go ahead and get this started shortly. So once again, shift when the shift bar fills up. And do note that because this is the replay now, you cannot see the driving line assist that I have on when I was recording this. So you want to take a note of the lines I'm taking because I'm trying to avoid the racing line as much as I can, as there's a bit less grip on the racing line. So tuck in all the way to the right because there's still a grip here. Down to fourth gear, be really careful with your throttle inputs, really easy to understeer off of the track. And do note that I go wide into this turn because a bit more to the right of me is where the racing line is and there's less grip there. Brake at the 75 meter mark, and again do note that racing line that I'm taking. You can be a bit aggressive getting on the throttle for this turn. Don't forget this car is an all-wheel drive, so it is a bit more forgiving to drive, especially under these conditions. Then bring yourself all the way to the left, brake before going under the big Dunlop sign, go down to third gear, nice and careful getting back on the throttle. Look for the white marker on the left as that is your next braking point right here. Wait just a little bit before turning on in, stay towards the left, and use the end of the curb on the left as your next braking point. You can use the red and white curves, they're still part of track limits. And then for the final turn, there are multiple lines you can take. For me, I much prefer taking a wider entry than swinging myself back in, as this line that I took feels pretty awkward. It didn't really sit right with me, but anyways, with this I was able to get a 148.7. Yeah, this combination is not my cup of tea, but hopefully this update helps you out. But that's all for me. Take care everyone. This is Mr. Messier, and I'll see you in the next video.